Hello, divers, and welcome to another episode of the Harvest Season. My name is Johnny,
And my name is Kevin.
and we're here today to talk about cottagecore games.
No, well, is Dave cottagecore? I don't know. Maybe?
I'm pretty sure it's cottagecore. Like it's very
Yeah,
cottagecore.
it's vibes,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. I think
Okay.
this is going to end up being episode 3 in Dave the Diver month because I caused a bit of chaos for Al and we shuffled the episodes. Um, as always, transcripts available in the show notes and on the website. But today, the topic that we're going to be talking about is the Dredge DLC. Kev, we're a year on for when we first covered Dredge as a part
Jeez, I guess it has been a year.
of fishing month, which was this time last year. Dredge definitely not cottagecore. Dave the Diver more cottagecore than Dredge. That's what I'm going to say, even with
Yep.
the Dredge elements thrown in.
You know what? There is farming in Dave, so close enough.
Exactly. So as always, no news for this episode. There will be a bit of a catch up in a couple of weeks when we're all back to recording at just a little bit ahead of when the episodes are released instead of a lot ahead of when the episodes are released. But what have we been up to, Kev? What have you been up to?
Um, so, actually just this week, I actually hit credits on Dave the Diver, the whole thing. So I guess I'll say that for a second when we get to the main topic. But spent a lot of time doing that. But other than that, the big one. Have you heard of Zenless Zone Zero?
I have not.
Okay. Have you heard of MiHoYo? I sure hope you have.
No.
Okay.
I don't know any of these words.
Have you heard of Genshin Impact?
Yes, that's like
Okay.
the big titty gacha game, right? That's
That's
that's that
correct.
one.
Well, that descriptor that might not be narrow enough, but yes, you're on the right track.
Okay, it's the
um,
really popular
yeah, the
big
really
titty.
popular one. Yeah, that one. It's not Nikkei. Um,
Okay.
okay. So, MiHoYo is the company slash developer behind Genshin Impact. They have since Genshin published a few released a few games. One of them called Honkai Star Rail, which very similar to Genshin, but that one's turn-based, while Genshin is a Breath of the Wild style game. And then just I think at the start of July, they released a game called Zenless Zone Zero, which again very similar. It has gotcha mechanics, anime style type thing. The genre this time is more of a character action game, for lack of a better word of putting it. Think Near Automata, Devil May Cry. You mash buttons and you hit lots of enemies, basically. The game is free. I got it on my PlayStation, but you could even get it on mobile. Um, it is terrifying how excellent the game is. um, the actual combat portion is simple compared to other games, but it is it feels good. It controls very well. The visual presentation is beyond stellar. It has a very strong aesthetic, like a urban cyberpunkish kind of thing. Um, the the colors are bright. The music is phenomenal. Even the UI feels Persona-ish. Very, very nice. It is the as with the other ones, it does have the gotcha mechanic for different characters you can play as. But here's the great thing, right? I don't really care about most of the characters, so I'm okay. I did a pull or two or whatever and got some characters, but I'm not hurting like some other games might be. Um,
So I've just looked this up in the background while you've been talking
yeah,
about it, and like, because I'm a bit of a sucker for a gacha game, but there was something about like the Genshin Impacts and Honkai Star Rail that never really pulled me in. I was like, I don't know. I feel like this one, and hearing you talk about it sounds pretty good because I've
it
been a
is.
sucker
Yeah.
for a long time. And like, so my first real experience with gacha games was Final Fantasy Record Keeper. I don't know if you
Oh,
recall
oh, that's a deep cut. All
that one.
right.
Yeah, and I got really into that one, which was weird because like that's like the only Final Fantasy game I've ever played, right? So I have no connection to the characters. It just turns out that I really like those sorts of games.
Okay.
And then slightly more recently, there was the Marvel Strike Force
Okay. Oh, that was gotcha. I didn't
gotcha.
realize
That
that.
was
Okay.
yeah. Well, I don't know if it was exactly gotcha. I can't remember exactly the recruitment mechanics, but it was kind of like enough of overlap where it was, just designed to get you to put money in for
Sure.
absurd,
It's
resource upgrading stuff to
designed.
5 stars.
Yeah, designed for the microtransaction. Sure.
Exactly.
Um.
And so I kind of been feeling the pull, and there was one AFK journey that was like all over ads on every platform like two or
Yeah.
three months
Oh.
ago, and I downloaded
Yeah.
that. Tried that one. That one didn't quite grab me. It had some pretty cool mechanics going on, but there wasn't maybe quite enough going on. But yeah, I guess given the legacy of the developer and me maybe feeling like I'm ready to be hurt again by another gacha game, I've just downloaded this one.
Okay. Well, dang. Yeah. Oh gosh. Yeah, I've heard of AFK Journey. I think I heard you talk about it. But
I probably did. I probably talked about it on the show.
yeah. 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 It's been a minute, but I mean, like, if you are in need of another gotcha or anyone else, like, I can heartily recommend this one. Like, I'm still early in pretty much. I don't think I've played a full week at this point, maybe. Uh, I haven't hit any huge roadblocks. What's fun about this one is there's a lot of skill to the component, right? Because you can dodge attacks and parry and stuff like that, right? So, you don't feel bottlenecked by not having S rank characters or whatever. Um, yeah, they give you 3 starter characters, and I got through most of it, or pretty much everything I played up to now with those 3 because I enjoyed them. Um, but I'm sure some people might dig some of the other characters. I think there's 1 or 2 that I think are cool, but I'm not dying to get them. So, I haven't whaled yet, as the term goes. There is a bear. There's a playable bear though. That's kind of fun. Um, he's a bear with a big cinder block, like cement block. I don't know what it is. He works in a construction company. Anyways, but yeah, no, it's great. It's free. Um, the biggest con I think it
Kevin, you
has,
can't keep saying a gacha game is free. We all know they're not really free. They're like fake
well,
free.
it's free to download, free to start. um, but the biggest knock I have against it, aside from the trappings of the genre, the gotcha mechanics or whatever, um, the game is just filled, filled to the brim with nonsense words and features, and holy mackerel, it is overwhelming. Um, because they have to make up a name for every little thing. There's bang boos and proxies and carrots, and oh my goodness, it's beyond overwhelming. But that's okay, because when I get to the actual little gameplay where I fight, a stage full of enemies, none of that matters, and I enjoy myself. um,
Amazing.
so yeah, if you can get past the wave of just overwhelming nonsense, jargon, techno babble, I think it's a great time.
Awesome. I am looking forward to getting sucked into this hole with you, Kev.
He's sick. Let me know when you get in, and we can. Geez, I don't know what multiplayer stuff there is, but we can at least talk about our units.
Exactly. Exactly.
What's your favorite JPEG that you pulled? um, okay. But yeah, that's all I've been really up to. Aside from Dave. What about you, Johnny? What's been going on with you?
Nothing too much. I've kind of been dead for the last month. So I think last time I was on the show, Al and I were talking about Starstruck Vagabond. And the couple of days before we recorded that episode, work called me and they said, "Hey, we need someone to go on an international trip for like 2 weeks, in like 3 days. How would you like to be that person?" And I was like, sure, because it was
Wow.
international trip, but it was an international trip home. So I got up at 4 a.m. to record that episode with Al, and then immediately went to the airport to get on a flight to disappear for 2 weeks. which was great. And then I got back, and as happens with international travel now, you sit on a plane with a bunch of other gross humans, and then you come back and you get really sick.
Oh
And
yeah, good
so
times.
so that's kind of what happened with me. I just got really sick, and I feel like there's two versions of being sick, right? Like there's the version when you feel poorly, you probably shouldn't be out in public, but kind of mentally you're fine, right? And like it's one of those great times of being sick where you can sit down and you play
Yeah,
video games or
sure. The maybe more inconvenient time or what have you. Um,
yeah.
yeah, I get that.
And then there's the sort of sick where your brain just doesn't work and all you want to do is sleep or do the most mindless activity possible.
And
And I was in the second category, so
of
I have
course,
literally not played anything for about a month and a half now.
jeez Louise, what
So
did you have? What took you out that long?
I don't like it was well, so it was the travel. Like I didn't get to put the chance to play any games while I was on the travel, and then it was just one of those sicknesses that like it just kind of wiped me out for about a week. It was probably COVID, if I'm being honest. And then by the time I was kind of better, work was then crazy enough that it was just like the brain space to actually sit down and play something was just not there. So I literally have not played anything in a couple of
Mm,
weeks. And then
good
as I started to
times.
feel better, the Olympics started. And I am very into watching the Olympics in Australia. The Olympics start are really like they start their day at about 6:30 our time, so you kind of get home and you're like making dinner, and the Olympics is just firing up for the day, so you can get very
Oh, that's
sucked
nice.
into.
That's good
Yeah,
timing.
it's really good timing. This week in particular, I've got really into watching judo,
Oh, judo's so
which is
cool.
a it's so cool. It's such a cool sport. Not a sport that I have any interest in doing. Like sometimes you watch an Olympic sport and you think, oh, could I do that? Judo, zero interest in doing. But man, it's a cool sport.
Yeah. I haven't followed judo. Have there been gold medalists yet? I haven't kept track at all.
Yeah, there's been medals. I think they're through most of the judo now, but it's just been really interesting, sort of seeing like it's one of those martial arts that's very well, like most martial arts, very technique driven. But I guess it kind of being that more grapple or throw style has been very interesting for me, and it's one of the things that I love about the Olympics is learning about weird niche sports that you don't really see
Yeah,
any other time and getting into it. Have
yeah.
you watched any of the Olympics, Kev?
Um, well, first off, on judo, I did taekwondo when I was younger, for many years actually. So I love martial arts. Judo obviously is a different beast because it feels almost at times like one move, a touch of death sort of thing. Um,
Mm.
so the mental dance, the standoff feels extra intense in my opinion. Um, but I personally have not been. I've caught up a lot of the highlights, and headlines and things like that. I haven't really sat down to watch many of the events themselves. I watched some of the gymnastic stuff, because out in here in the States we have, Simone Biles, so of course that gets the press coverage. But I will say, this Olympics probably the strongest memes to come out, and maybe all of them. The shooting in particular. Hats off to that Turkish guy.
That Turkish guy is so cool. He makes every other shooter just look super friggin' lame. Like,
Okay, okay.
I don't like shooting. Like, I hate it when they have all of the eye masks and everything else. It's the same with archery, where it's like, to me, the skill is meant to be in you, the human, doing it, not having all of the stuff to point you and having it be a contest and like how still can you hold your arm.
The
So I think that dude makes the rest of the shooters look hella lame.
Oh, absolutely. The picture once he like the part that kills me is his other hand's just in his pocket. Like he's
Yeah,
not
it's
doing a two-handed hold or anything. Just bam. I don't know if you heard, but it turns out he actually did in fact serve in the Turkish military, and he
yes, yeah.
actually did the same thing like 10 years ago, where he got I don't know if it was what event it was, but he did some shooting and no equipment whatsoever. Wild stuff.
Yeah, he won a world championship like 11 years ago or something like
Okay,
that.
that's what it was. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um oh yeah, good stuff. Yeah, Olympics, good times.
The other sport I'm going to talk about briefly because like I find the act mind blowing and then how they do it even more insane. But it's synchronized diving.
Oh yeah, I did see some of that. That's insane. What was it? China that did the two women? I think it was women. That
Yep.
yeah, you know the
There's
one.
that
The
video of them diving side by side, and the first time you watch it, you think there's just one of them because
yeah,
they are that in sync. It's so good. And those
it's
people are they're so impressive. It's just
oh
the
yeah,
technique to do that individually, combined with having to time that perfectly with another human being, is insane.
it really is. Like holy moly, it's like Pacific Rim. They're moving in sync. They're sharing the same brain patterns. That's it's. Oh man, you're right. Synchronized diving is so cool, so cool.
Cool. Only other thing I want to bring up is it's somewhat news, but I just saw that the Hardy Hank plush is now out on Makeship. I'm like really 50-50
Oh,
on if I want to get it because it's so goddamn cute.
it is really good. Yep, Hank. Yeah. Good call. Because, well, I guess I don't know when people are going to listen to this, but it'll probably still be up the campaign or whatever. But yeah, the Hank from Bear and Breakfast has a makeshift plush. It's really, really good. Um, I'm hurting because I'm hoping I can get it. I'm doing the maths, the budgeting to do it, but it is really, really good.
All right. Well, shall we get into Dave the Diver X Dredge, Kev?
Let's dive right in. Okay, so first off, I'm gonna update my thoughts because when I talked with Al, I don't know, it was like chapter 2, 3, something like that. And like I said, I hit credits this week. So all the stuff I said in the episode maintains true. I like the mechanics. I like the fish part of it. Um, I did more bosses, and it's interesting how they approach bosses. Some of them were fairly challenging, I think. Al was right that they add a lot of weird one-off mechanics later in the game, which I didn't mind as much as him, but it is an interesting design choice to say the least. The story was, very basic or whatever, but it was there were fun characters, and seeing some of the horrors of the deep. Good times, good times. And I'm not even talking about the mutated dredge horrors. I'm talking about the regular horrors. Um, yeah, but I mean, overall, I really, really enjoyed it. I did the Godzilla DLC as well. That was super fun and enjoyable. We have another episode on that, so I won't get into detail. But yeah, 2 thumbs up for me on Dave the Diver overall. What about you, Johnny?
Nice.
I don't think you've talked about your experience thus far.
No, and I have to say, I did not get into Dave the Diver that much. And so you're kind of like roped into doing this diving, thing anyway. And then Goncho shows up and he's like, he shows up and he's like, you're going to be my waitress now and like serve people, which you do. Did the tutorial of that. I got everything perfect, right? I poured everyone's tea perfectly. And his immediate comment was, it was a bit sloppy. I was just like, and I turned the game off, and I haven't played it since. Like that, it really annoyed me. Yeah.
Oh,
I need
good
to do a version of
times.
that without swearing. I need to
That's
do a version of that without swearing. It's just like it
that's
rages so
hilarious.
much. Yeah, so I probably didn't get into Dave the Diver that much. I didn't really like the start of the game. Well, I guess to be blunt, I didn't like the serving aspect of the sushi side of things. Like I want to play Dave the Diver, not
Yeah,
Dave the wait staff.
yeah. You know what?
I
You're right. It is. That's a very minimal part of the game. Like you could probably skip that whole the gameplay portion. You could like manage the restaurant maybe, but yeah, that part is more or less negligible because the diving portion is absolutely the bread and butter, the main sell of the game. I fully agree.
Yeah, and so when they said like, oh, now, and the way I feel like it's done is where the sushi chef just like forces you to serve the sushi. I just didn't get why that was even in the game. Like that to me, like there's nothing fun or enjoyable about that. It's not like I'm not playing Dave the server at a restaurant. I'm playing Dave the diver. I want to go diving and bring stuff back and have that, yeah, do all of the upgrades and all of those sorts of things that you and Al talked about on the first episode. That sounded great, but I don't want to have this stupid mini game I have to do every, after every couple of dives to go and do it. And I didn't like the way it was done. Like, I thought the Goncho, the character, the way he kind of forces you into doing it, really rubbed me the wrong way. I thought the whole approach of that character was really annoying and off-putting, and I kind of just turned off the game after that because I was like, I'm just not interested. Like, if there was an option to just skip that entire portion of the game and just get, like, from tonight's, sushi sales, you get however much money, that's what I want. I don't want to do a timer-based running and meeting people and, fulfilling their orders. To me, that's just, yeah, it wasn't something that appealed to me. And so I kind of just I didn't give the game a chance because I wasn't interested in that portion of it.
Mm-hmm. Well, you know what? I'll agree that Dave needs to learn how to say no because he just goes with every single thing everyone requests him. You hadn't seen half of it. Poor Dave. He puts up way too much.
I kind of get that that's the character, which is fine. It just really annoyed me in the context of the game being Dave the Diver, and that being the part of the game that I was interested in, and it just kind of felt like this weird mini game.
Yeah, I'm surprised they don't give you an option to just, auto or skip it or whatever. At least I don't think so. I'm trying to think. I mean, later on, they give you tools to skip a lot of it if you want to, but, like, there's no just one button. I just want to, just skip the night or whatever.
Yeah. So, it's a bit unfortunate because for me it doesn't really feel connected to the rest of the game in a way other than maybe they had this idea for this as a mechanic and they kind of wedged it in, because personally it's just I don't find the mechanics that were inherent in that side of the game fun. I don't really like rushing around, meeting orders, needing to do things perfectly in a game that to me is I'm interested in the exploration and catching fish and finding stuff.
You're right. It is like super tonally dissonant, right? Like just because the diving parts, like as they can get stressful, but they're also very chill at the same time because you're exploring, right? And it's generally low pressure, unless you're attacked by a narwhal. But yeah, you're right. It is kind of odd.
Yeah. So anyway, that's kind of my take on the game. It's like I liked what I saw from the diving side of things, and I kind of just wish that was what I could have done. But let's talk about the Dredge DLC. And where I want to start this conversation, Kev, is the thing that sort of stood out to me the most when I was looking into the DLC is kind of how you engage with the Dredge, the Dredge DLC, where it can only happen on days that are foggy, and from what I understand, that's not every single day. So there's you can only do it once every couple of days. And how did you feel about that?
This is probably the one of the biggest talking points about the DLC, or at least the, let's say, negative talking points. So like I mentioned, I just hit credits. It's been, I don't remember how many weeks since I first started playing before I even sat down with Al to record it. I hit the Dredge DLC for the first time just last night.
Wow.
Yeah. It is random, completely random. I got it post credits. I don't think that's a requirement. In fact, I know it's actually not. You have to only hit like chapter 2 till that can unlock. But yeah, it took that long for me to see it, right? And like, I guess you could kind of speed run through it by just skipping dives, basically, just going in and out or whatever. But obviously, I was enjoying the game and playing it, so I wasn't in a rush to do that per se. And I wanted to see how long it would take. Yeah, it took me many weeks to hit the DLC, which is absolutely wild and kind of an awful way to make it accessible. It'd be nice if there was a person you could just talk to, say, "Hey, I want to dredge it up."
Yeah, that's it's interesting, right? And it's an interesting way of doing DLC, particularly in a time where you expect that a lot of people have already completed a large portion of the game, and so they're having to play through multiple days just to engage with the DLC content. So that kind of was the one thing that stood out to me that felt a little bit interesting. And your idea of like, is there just someone that you could talk to be like, hey, up the fogginess, so that we can engage more with this would have been a good little move. But maybe let's talk about some of the new mechanics that the Dredge DLC introduced, and starting with the biggest one, because this just seems like a huge thing to add to the game, is the fact that you can drive the boat, like kind of like you can in Dredge.
Yep. Yeah. So that's the first. Really the first thing you do with the DLC. Obviously, it gets foggy and some guy approaches you, and then when you start it, yeah, you're driving the boat straight up to edge. Like even the visual style is very Dredge like. I don't know how the Dredge ship. Obviously, I have not played Dredge myself right now, but I don't know how it controls work and whatnot. But it feels fine. It looks a lot like what I've seen from Dredge's ship controlling. Granted, the map is a lot more simple. I don't think there are, or at least I haven't yet seen threats in the overworld to attack the boat like in Dredge.
No,
But
and I don't think there are any threats in the overworld to attack the boat. But it kind of is just crazy to me that was like, that's a huge thing to add to a game, right? Where
yeah,
it's
it
not
definitely
like,
is.
movement mechanics and like there's physics. Like there's a lot that has to go into adding something like that to a game like this, where there's no there's the movement obviously of Dave, but that's very different to the movement of a ship. So it kind of feels like in many respects like just a new big system to add, and even particularly the way that the art assets work, right? Because it's, I don't know, this was just one of those things. It's like it's awesome that they did it because it kind of really links the Dave the Diver to Dredge in a very clean, thematic, visually aligned way. It just seems so crazy to add this to what Dave the Diver was.
Yeah, absolutely right. Because the second portion is, the Dave the Diver portion where you're down in the water hunting down the aberrations. But yeah, it was really nice they went the extra mile. Like this is what I'd call an A+ collaboration crossover because, you know, really blending the DNA of the two games.
Absolutely. And so, from there was a few mini games that I saw that were added, that were very reminiscent of the dredging mini games from Dredge, where you've got sort of the reticle moving around, and it's kind of like a little timing based mini game. Did you get to try those that much?
No, I didn't because, like I said, just did last night. I didn't even get fully through the night or whatever. But so you have to hit a vortex to dive right in to start the diving portion, and I pretty much just did that right away. I didn't really, I don't know, I just didn't think about looking more. But that is
Cool. Well,
fascinating.
let's talk about the diving then. How does it compare tonally to the rest of Dave the Diver?
Okay, so it is a night dive, so as we discussed with Al, like, or when we talk about the episode with Al, regular night dives are already pretty dangerous because everything is already aggressive, and will attack you. Um, and so here it's again the same time the ocean looks darker. They do change the color scheme to better match Dredge. But uh, other than that, like I guess it's kind of what you'd expect because yeah, it's slightly dredge colored. But there's the scary aberration fish, and you're just hunting them a la Dave the Diver mechanics. Yeah, I'm trying
And
like
so when you've kind of got that total, like I'm assuming there's a bunch of aberrant fish that you are now catching and that have been added.
yeah, that's correct. Yeah, they're all well, I guess it's kind of true in Dredge that they're normal fish, but just weird. Like there's a three-headed fish. Some fish now have fangs. Some have horns. So on and so forth. Right. I saw a marlin with very scary eyes. So yeah. What's nice is that in regular night dives, a lot of fish can be grouped together and they can attack you. It can be difficult to navigate that many aggressive fish at once. But at least from what I experienced, the dredge fish were pretty spaced out, so you could engage on them one on one, with a little more room to breathe.
Nice. Was there anything else that was felt different about the dives, or was it really kind of just like a different dive in a slightly different location with some slightly different fish?
There's also new weapons. Um, let me see. The which is interesting because the weapon is a big part of how you interact with the game, right? Um, so for instance, one of them is called was it the drain gun? Um, yeah, it is. It can, yeah. So your oxygen is your health, right? So you can recover health using that gun, which is an interesting mechanic. Because y- over, well, I say fairly grounded. There's sea people. Dave is generally fairly grounded with their mechanics, but this one's a little more video gamey and whatnot. And they just explain it away because they're aberrant fish, and it works like that. Um, I'm trying to think. Was the gravity gun new? Um,
I think the only new weapon was the life force one. I think the gravity
okay.
gun was
Oh,
already
was
in
it?
there.
Okay. Yeah, because I found that on the dive. I didn't know if that was new. That might just my first time encountering it. Um, but uh, but yeah. I'm trying again. I didn't get the chance to play as much as I wanted, but at least when you first dive in, like I didn't. It's. I'm trying to think here. Like all like I said, the fish will attack you. I can't think of any of them doing super crazy and whatnot. I think some of them are pretty fast, but that's yeah, no, otherwise it feels a lot like a night dive, which I think it's not bad. Oh, there are crabs in the game. In standard Dave, you can unlock them pretty late in the game. And you can hunt get aberrant crabs and whatnot as well. Um, and from what I understand from the DLC, there are like three areas. I didn't get to all of them. There are, I, I don't know all of them. I've heard that they're kind of samey, but, one interesting thing about the aberrant fish, you have to, use them that night or they'll just disappear. You can sell them to a certain vendor, um, but unlike other fish, they cannot stay in your inventory or at the restaurant or whatever.
Yeah, and I also read that they can only be sold to a certain uh, character that comes in to specifically eat that sushi. It's not like anyone that comes to the sushi restaurant will eat the aberrant fish, which makes sense, right?
Yep,
Like,
yep.
not everyone is about that aberrant fish.
Not everyone's that adventurous. Would you eat a
Yeah,
three-headed cod? Uh,
I
uh,
mean, probably.
I, I probably would too.
Who knows? Hey, that's how I become Codman.
Um, but yeah, I'm trying to think. No, I think one thing that is really unfortunate, uh, from what I understand, there's no new bosses in the Dredge DLC.
Yeah,
Um,
that's right.
and that's really unfortunate because the Godzilla DLC brought in a boss, and Dredge has a good helping of monsters to choose from, right? So it's a shame we didn't get a single one of them.
Yeah, it's even maybe a shame that there wasn't some like a madness style mechanic. You could imagine it sort of sitting alongside the oxygen meter, and maybe rather than a boss, there's just the risk that you get attacked by some Cthulhian inspired uh, creature, or they didn't really play with, I guess, that sort of madness
Ooh,
Cthulhian side of things, which would
yeah,
have been really fascinating, I think, in the way Dave is set up.
yeah, that's good. I didn't even think about that. That would have been a great mechanic, right? Like, obviously, Dredge tonally, that's very different, right? The horrors and whatnot, but at least just a different meter, or call it a fear meter, whatever you want to call it. Like, it is a shame they didn't introduce something like that. That would have been fun.
Yeah, and I think that's probably the biggest, outside of the difficulty of interacting, but the biggest criticism I've seen of the Dredge DLC is just the lack of those bosses that are a decent portion of the game, and to your point, would have made sense to add in the context of Dredge, and what that brings to the Dave the Diver universe. Anything else, I guess, about the DLC specifically?
So I will say that there are there is a good amount of the fish. Um, Gosh, how many are there? There's looking at least 30 of them, which is a pretty good amount to be quite frank. Um, So I do give them props for that. Like I said, there are three smallish areas. Um, so it is a fairly sizable DLC, at least compared to the Godzilla one. The Godzilla one, while a lot of fun, was relatively small in scale. It's like a couple of boss fights, really, and finding Godzilla, which is a very minor thing. Um, I do wonder if these aberrants are from Dredge directly, or if they made up new ones. Like I'm looking at this one called the Gazing Shark. It looks like a hammerhead, but with giant eyes at the end. I don't know. But yeah, other than that, like I can't have any direct thoughts, or I don't have any more detailed thoughts. Um,
Cool.
like I said,
Well, one thing I am keen to talk about a little bit is how cool the idea of this as a DLC is. Like, it's really cool to see
yeah,
two indie developers sort of teaming up and doing a cross collaboration like this. There hasn't been a ton of these before. I'm probably struggling to think of any, but I'm sure these sorts of collaborations have been done somewhat infrequently in the past.
yeah,
But I think in the stage that we're in, with indies being probably, I would say, popular within the niche of people that are following gaming stuff elsewhere, right? Like they're not getting to the level of triple A's, but within people that are engaging with gaming culture or gaming communities, these games kind of get to a level of popularity. It's really nice to see this sort of collaboration coming through as a way to introduce people to other games that they maybe haven't played, but it's probably been on their list and could be a little bit of a prompt to get them to do it. So I would love to see more of this style of collaboration between games, because I just think it's such a cool concept. The overlap really made sense, right? Like it wasn't just like, hey, we're two indie developers that want to sort of cross promote our games. It's like, no, there's actually a way that we can do this that makes total sense in the context of both of our games, and I just think it's really, really it's really clever in that regard.
Okay. So, okay, I was going to say that, right? Like, this, like, I know we kind of covered it quickly because it's so much, so aside from the dredge, the actual boat controls, like, a lot of it is just, more stylized, Dave the diving, right? And that's not a bad thing in itself. But, like, overall, I do really enjoy this DLC. For a lot of the same reasons you said, I think it was really, really successful. I think we should put an asterisk though. Dave the Diver is not a indie game. It's by Mint Rocket, which is a subdivision of Nexon, which is a huge Korean game dev. They do Maple Story and other things. But I mean, Dredge though, that one's indie, and it's very cool that they got to do such a in-depth collaboration, right? I think it especially benefits Dredge, because Dredge got a lot of love for sure, but I think Dave had a little more lasting power, maybe because of these DLCs. Um, so I agree. Like it is a great way to get people's eyes on Dredge. I've wanted to play Dredge for a while. And this certainly does motivate me to want to get it to it sooner when I can.
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't know why. For some reason, I just maybe I just assumed that Dave the Diver
Well, I mean,
was edgy because it gives big indie energy.
yeah, I mean it's pixels, right? It's like first of all, it's the pixels, and it's the it just doesn't feel triple A because it's not, big high fidelity graphics, fast action or whatever, right? And it's not just you. Let's not forget the Game Awards nominated Dave the Diver for Indie Game of the Year, and everyone got a little upset at them for that. But yeah, but regardless of that, like I think the points still stand. Like it was a really good way to integrate the two together. Like I struggle to think of the last crossover collaboration that worked this well because I mean obviously thematically they're fish games or whatever, but even the boat just worked really well. With Dave the Diver, like I know it's a dredge mechanic or whatever, but it feels right at home in Dave the Diver because of the setting in this, special blue hole place, and they introduced a lot of one-off things like that, so it doesn't stick out or any particular way, which is, I think, a good sign in this case.
Yeah, absolutely. One final question: if they were going to do a collab with David the Diver was going to do a collab with another game property thing, where would you want that collab to come from?
Yeah, that's what I've been thinking about. Because yeah, that's the next question, right? Well, honestly, I'm trying to think here. Well, see, okay, are we talking about putting something into Dave the Diver or getting Dave the Diver into something else? Because
Let's say putting something into Dave the Diver.
okay, because I was about to bring up Nika, it's going to be tough to compete with that one. Okay, bringing something else into you know what? You know what? I would be remiss if I didn't bring up a Big the Cat DLC.
Big the Cat. Oh, I love it. That's a real throwback for
And
for
you
us.
know, they kind of got that same body shape going on. Give them a little, when you complete the DLC, a little Big the Cat suit you can wear. I'm down for this. I'm down for this. Help 'em fish for Froggy way down there. And yeah, and Eggman has a machine down there. Yeah, I mean there already were robots, machines you have to fight in Dave the Diver. Yeah, I'm down for this.
Amazing.
Yeah, yeah. What about you?
Amazing.
You have
That
any
sounds
ideas?
great. Um, maybe slightly more grim, but I would really love to see kind of like a Dave the Diver final DLC that's a collab with Spiritfarer.
Darn it. Darn it, that's perfect. I didn't think about it. That's perfect.
Like just the whole vibe of the game, I feel like a closing moment that is somehow linked into Spiritfarer would be, yeah, kind of amazing.
Okay,
It feels
hold
like
on.
there's a
But
yeah.
here's the monkey paw. You have, a big part of Spiritfarer is taking care of the guests, right? So now you have to do that with the Bancho sushi restaurant.
Look, I look. I'm okay. If it was more like Spiritfarer, I could suffer through that. I would probably play through Dave the Diver just to experience a little bit more Spiritfarer.
I can see it working. You have the Spiritfarer boat, how it has the multiple levels. So you're
Yep,
doing the sushi portion, but you have to go up and down the
that's a
levels.
and well, you could just have the restaurant be a new room on the Spiritfarer boat. Maybe Dave the Diver needs to come to Spiritfarer. Maybe you're right. Maybe I'm
M-
thinking about it the wrong way around.
Maybe. Does Dave die at the end of it?
Yes, that is.
That's
I feel like that is the natural. That is the natural ending.
Yep, there you go. Um, yeah, you're right. That truly would be the final DLC. There you go. With perfect. I love it. Ship it. I'm reaching out to Mint Rocket right now.
Amazing. Right. Well, I think that was everything I had to cover. Anything else from you, Kit?
Oh, one thing not specifically to Dredge, something that I forgot to mention that I wanted to say since the last episode. I don't think I ever brought up that I am in fact a real certified scuba diver. So I very much appreciate this. Obviously, I will not be diving to the um, abyssal horror deaths or in polar waters, but it is it is very cool to see that. I love scuba diving, so it is very cool to see a game kind of capture that love. Uh,
Yeah, absolutely.
yeah. All right. All right. I guess then, if that's the case, I think that puts a nice little bow on Dave the Diver month. Like I know you.
No, there's still one more episode to go, Kev. One more episode to go.
Wait, there is. Oh, I thought we switched the order.
Yeah,
Cut all this out.
next
Cut
week.
it all out. Never mind.
Next week, I believe there will be the story episode for Dave
Oh,
the
I
Diver.
thought that came out before. I don't know why I thought. Never mind. Okay. Well, all right. There you go. Well, okay. Well, in that case, I think that covers the Dredge DLC. Um, it's like I still give it 2 thumbs up as a DLC. Definitely, it's great crossover. Like it's hard to talk about because of it. It's so much, just kind of pointing out what's great about Dave the Diver, the base game. Um, but it works really well. So 2 thumbs up. Thanks for coming on to talk to me about it, Johnny. Thank you, Al, for having us. Uh, thank you, listeners, for listening. And Johnny, where should people go to find you? And it's probably not somewhere that personal, but I know there is one place.
Yeah, if you want to chat about anything THS related, the best way to do that is go to patreon.com/THSpod, support the show, and get access to the Slack where we talk about all the sorts of games that we're playing. And Kev referenced Big the Cat a while back. There are some bonus episodes, one of which is Kev introducing me to various Sonic characters that I had not come across before, which came from Big the Cat coming up in just about every single episode that Kev and I do together. Which that was a lot of fun to record.
I put the effort. We got to do round 2 at some point.
We absolutely do. But that's the main place that you can find me. Kev, where can people find you?
Find me at Koopa Prez on my personal Twitter if you want to see me talk, mostly repost other things. Find me at Sprite if you want to see my art, or more importantly, find me on Rainbow Road Radio, a show I do with our mutual friend Alex, discussing all things Mario, excuse me. I don't know what episode will be out when this drops, but most recently we talked about the Mario cartoons, or some of them, and boy, that was quite a trip. Due to Mario, everyone. But yeah, if you have any questions, comments, or mostly complaints about the show, reach to Al at the Scottbot or Mastodon.Scott on Twitter and Mastodon, respectively. Find the podcast at THS Pod on Tumblr and Twitter. Go to harvestseason.club for all the episodes, provide feedback, links to all the stuff we're talking about. The Patreon, as Johnny mentioned, patreon.com/THSpod. And yeah, I think that covers it. Until next time, dear divers, farmer people,
have a good harvest.
The Harvest Season is created by Al McKinley, with support from our patrons, including our pro farmers, Kevin, Stuart, and Elisa. Our art is done by Micah the Brave, and our music is done by Nick Burgess. Feel free to visit our website, harvestseason.club, for show notes and links to things we discussed in this episode.
You know what? I forgot to mention that you didn't reach it, but there's a mermaid village and there's a manatee helping farm. Like, you don't do anything with it, but it's their farming. I love manatees. Okay, that's all.